tonight, NEMO's action plan in preparation for Hurricane Gonzalo. A 24th case of COVID-19 is confirmed and contact tracing is ongoing after a St. Lucian tested positive for COVID-19 after traveling to St. Vincent. And Highline Poultry suspends contracts with some local farmers, citing decreased consumer demand amid COVID-19 challenges. The details of these stories and more coming up.
This is the Hot 7 Nightly News with Lovelace and Amy Joseph.
Good night. It is Thursday, the 23rd of July, 2020. Welcome to the Hot 7 TV Nightly News on Flow, Channel 117, Kiss FM, the Caribbean Hot FM mobile app, and our Caribbean Hot 7 TV Facebook page. I'm Lovely St. Amy Joseph. Thank you for joining us. The National Emergency Management Organization, NEMO, is on guard for the passage of Gonzalo, which may impact the Windward Islands as a hurricane on Saturday. Gonzalo is projected to move across the southern Windward Islands by Saturday evening. Tropical storm Gonzalo is moving toward the west near 14 miles per hour, a westward to west-northwestward motion with an increase in forward speed is expected through the weekend. On the forecast track, the center of Gonzalo will approach the southern Windward Islands Friday night and move across the islands Saturday and Saturday evening. Satellite-derived wind data indicate that maximum sustained winds have decreased. Some re-strengthening is possible during the next couple of days, and there is still a chance that Gonzalo could become a hurricane. A hurricane watch is in effect for Barbados and St. Vincent and the Grenadines. Interests in the Windward Islands have been asked to monitor the progress of this system. The director of St. Lucia's National Emergency Management Organization, NEMO, Doreen Gustav, says vigilance is key.
National Emergency Management Organization, NEMO, wishes to inform the public that we are working closely with the Met Office regarding the progress of Tropical Storm Gonzalo. The storm is expected to move near or over the southern Windward Island this weekend and could bring direct impacts from winds and heavy rainfall. While it is too soon to determine the magnitude and timing of those impacts, residents are advised that they should accelerate their preparedness activities as we continue to monitor the progress of Tropical Storm Gonzalo. Persons living in low-lying communities are asked to pay close attention to information from the Met Office. Thank you.
Meanwhile, we spoke to members of the public about their level of preparation for the passage of Gonzalo.
What we have to do right now, we have to make sure we have our candles, our matches, make sure our cylinders are full, make sure we have water, because sometimes they take the water for 2 or 3 days. We're supposed to have our matches, our meds together, we're supposed to have our candle, and just make sure we put all our electrical things in a tight fitting bag so it will not get water, so it will not damage or anything.
I have prepared it. I prepared nothing for hurricane season. We just come from the COVID-19. So I just by the market making a hustle, but we have to prepare for the hurricane because I heard they say we have how many hurricanes coming towards us?
Not quite. I'm not quite prepared, but I'm getting there. Yeah, for the hurricane season. Everybody have to be prepared. We have to put things in place for the hurricane season because nobody knows when they're going to strike.
Gonzalo is expected to produce total rain accumulations of 2 to 5 inches with isolated maximum amounts of 7 inches in Barbados and the Windward Islands from Friday night through Sunday night. Rainfall in Barbados and the Windward Islands could lead to life-threatening flash floods. The Ministry of Health has confirmed a new and 24th case of COVID-19 on island. It is also in the process of undertaking contact tracing for a St. Lucian who traveled to St. Vincent and tested positive for COVID-19. The individual was reportedly in close contact with co-workers before leaving St. Lucia, leading to a lockdown of staff at the call center where she worked on Thursday. On Thursday, the 22nd of July, the Ezra Long Laboratory of the Owen King EU Hospital reported that from a batch of 60 tests conducted, there was one positive case of COVID-19.
The individual is a 59-year-old female who arrived in St. Lucia on July 10, 2020. Upon return to St. Lucia, she was placed in institutional quarantine and was tested 7 days later as per quarantine protocol. Upon receipt of the results, the individual has been transferred to the respiratory hospital for isolation and related supportive care. She's currently doing well.
Meanwhile, the Ministry of Health was also informed by St. Vincent's Health Ministry of a St. Lucian national who traveled to St. Vincent and the Grenadines on Sunday, the 19th of July 2020. That individual tested positive for COVID-19.
Currently, we are investigating the matter and in the process of undertaking contact tracing for this individual. The Ministry of Health, we once again reiterate the importance of quarantine for returning nationals and visitors, as it is a great measure in minimizing the risk of transmitting COVID-19. It is with this we ask that people adhere to the 14-day quarantine time, and for those who are in home quarantine to stay there for the full period of time.
Dr. Belma George says this is not the time to let up on personal protective measures meant to keep people safe amid the COVID-19 pandemic.
We also ask the public, as we enter into the highest phase of reopening, we ask persons to ensure that they use their mask and also they adhere to the measures of physical distancing. We never know when we can get a case and need to do the tracing. With those measures, we reduce any chance of the transmission of COVID-19.
The ministry has heightened vigilance since the reopening of the island's borders and the commencement of commercial flights on the 9th of July 2020. The impact of COVID-19 is far-reaching on the economy of St. Lucia, and now poultry farmers have been dealt a major blow. Local distributor Highline CGL has made a decision to temporarily suspend partnership with some of its poultry farmers due to decreased demand. Consultant Titus Sprayville says projections are currently unfavorable as the COVID-19 pandemic has resulted in financial strain in many households, decreasing spending power. Shaka Wooding reports.
Amid the COVID-19 pandemic, countries have been placing greater focus on national food security. However, across the board, the market demand for food products has decreased due to less spending power. According to consultant Titus Sprayville, local poultry distributor Highline CGL has been feeling the pinch on the local poultry industry. He says as difficult as it is, cuts have been made in the production line currently supplied by local farmers.
The demand for chicken has dropped, and therefore there's need for the company to bring farmers up to date on the current situation, because that would have implications for the number of farmers or the volume of chicken that the company will be placing with farmers for processing over the next few months.
Sprayville says the adjustments will be temporary. However, no time frame has been placed on this action, given the uncertainties surrounding market stability.
The company will make a decision as to, first of all, how many farmers can realistically be involved in supplying the company of chicken. If the demand has dropped, and it has dropped significantly, because it's not simply a case of the company chicken being sold to the domestic market for households. The company also supplied hotels, a number of hotels, for hotels and so forth. So demand has dropped throughout, and therefore we have to have some sort of dialogue with the farmers and arrangements put in place as to how we manage that period until we can get back to normal production.
He says throughout this period, priority will be given to farmers who have shown efficiency and reliability throughout their contract with the company. Less favorable stakeholders will either be asked to meet smaller quotas or to operate under independent circumstances while they undergo a period of suspension. Jacques Wooding, Hot 7 News.
Over the weekend, neighboring islands, St. Vincent and the Grenadines recorded 2 new cases of COVID-19, one being a visitor originating from St. Lucia. This has raised concerns for the faults of the travel bubble protocol, which allows people coming from certain countries to bypass testing requirements. Minister for National Security, Herman Gil Francis, says this recent incident has indicated a need for the travel bubble to be reviewed.
The travel bubble allows citizens from select states in CARICOM to travel between islands without the necessity to have COVID-19 tests and certificates presented upon entry. This protocol has garnered much speculation following a press release from authorities in St. Vincent stating that of 2 new COVID-19 cases, one had been imported from St. Lucia with no prior indication of infection. Minister for National Security, Hermangild Francis, says this development has signified the need for the travel bubble to be revisited.
Every time we do something, we have to look at what has happened and then at the end of the day, take stock and see whether we can improve or we can do something that is a step back. And with that situation, I agree that the health officials should collate all the evidence they have on information, speak to the Vincentian authorities, and let's see how we can do it better.
Francis says there is no perfect formula in dealing with a viral disease. However, authorities can progress by addressing faults as they become evident.
All these things have to contend. We're not living in a perfect world. This is not a utopia. There are going to be issues, there are going to be problems.
He says the government will not be too hasty to consider the closure of borders, but this course of action remains available to them if deemed necessary. Jacka Whitting, Hot 7 News.
You're watching the Hot 7 TV Nightly News. Still to come, Independent Senator Adrian Auger says Peter should not have to pay for Paul as reinstating a national curfew is mulled over by the Prime Minister to get crime under control. The National Security Minister has a difference of opinion with the Prime Minister on the effectiveness of reinstating a curfew. And the Culture Minister is not amused by the small carnival displays that took place on Monday and Tuesday. That and more after the break.